Good evening. I'd like to begin the April 26th, 2021 meeting of the East Highland Zoning Hearing Appeals Board. First on the agenda tonight is appeal number 2021-7, the application of the Legacy Sign Company on behalf of Chickies and Pete's. Is the council here this evening?
Yes, council's present. John Randamonte on behalf of Chickies and Pete's and Legacy Sign.
Okay, Mr. Randamonte, go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hessen, if you'd like, I'll just announce the board exhibits for the record, if that's all right.
Yeah.
And Mr. Randamonte, Mark Haggerty is the court reporter tonight. And I'd only ask that everybody keep their voices up. Mark is very good at letting us know if we're going too fast or he can't hear us. And the Legacy Sign representative is Jack Protesto, is that correct?
Jack Protesto, that's correct.
Protesto.
Correct.
All right, so our board exhibits for the Legacy Sign Company application. Exhibit B1 is the zoning hearing application. It's dated March 12. Exhibit B2 is the proof of publication for the legal advertisements. Those have been placed on April 12 and April 19. Exhibit B3 is the staff affidavit of posting and the photo indicating the posting of the property on April 16. Exhibit B4 is my correspondence acknowledging the application and giving the applicant some procedural guidelines. Exhibit B5 is the applicant's withdrawal of special exception and variance requests. That relates to exceeding the 40 lumens in terms of the lighting for the proposed signage. So that is no longer part of the application. Mr. Randamonte has been kind enough to send his exhibits in advance, and I'll just identify them quickly and then he can move forward and tell us whether we're missing anything. His exhibits 1, 2, and 3 are all part of our zoning hearing board exhibit B1 as well. So the applicant's exhibit 1 is the application itself and the separate narrative request for special exception and variance relief. Applicant's exhibit 2 consists of site plans. Applicant's exhibit 3 are the sign drawings. Applicant exhibit 4 is the representation of notice to the surrounding properties. And exhibit 5 is from Chickies and Pete's chief operating officer, indicating that Mr. Protesto has the authority to make the presentation tonight. So those are the exhibits. Brittany Caracello is from the township zoning staff, is handling the exhibits. And Mr. Randamonte, what we thought we would start with is the sign drawings on exhibit 3.
That is correct,
which is kind of the visual. And I can tell you the board has carefully reviewed your application. They understand the details of it, both your special exception and your variance requests. So I think the board would probably be most interested in hearing the description of where those signs are and how big they are, and we can go from there.
Very good. Thank you, counsel. At this time, I'll call Jack Protesto, and if you'd read him the oath.
Mr. Protesto, with your raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Protesto. Would you be kind enough to tell the board who you are?
My name is Jack Protesto. I am a principal at Legacy Sign Company.
And what is Legacy Sign doing in this particular matter tonight?
We are representing Chickies and Pete's in the variance and signs for their new location.
And you've submitted written authority for that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's just get right to the chase. Let's take a look at exhibit S1. If you'd be kind enough, that's on exhibit 3, page 1. What is it you're trying to do here? And tell the board what it is you would like to accomplish.
Okay, so according to the rules in the zoning, no sign can be above 50 square feet, including any backer they're attached to. This sign does include an architectural backer that is larger than the allowable square footage. And we would
Am I correct that you're asking the board to find that as just a support for the sign rather than part of the sign? Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's really just an architectural element to the building rather than the sign. And also the letters themselves are 9 square feet larger than the allowable square footage. We would be asking for relief from that as well.
Now tell us a little bit about that sign. If you tell the board what it is that we're looking at,
So
which are illuminated, which are not, and how are they illuminated?
the Chickies and Pete's letters themselves are standard channel letters. They're red and internally illuminated with red LEDs. The Crab House and Sports Bar are non-illuminated letters below it.
All right. Does the board have any question for our witness with respect to that particular sign?
Not at this time. Any board members have a question?
Okay. Then,
so Mr. Redamonte, your request is basically for 9.5 square feet of additional signage under the theory that the backer does not count.
That is exactly correct, Council. Thank you. And everything is described particularly on exhibits 1A and on the special exception request. And the board, is, luckily under the code, has the discretion whether or not to do these things, to increase those sizes. And so that's the number 1 first special exception request. Now we'll move on to the second one. What is the second special exception request, Mr. Protesta? That's exhibit number S2, sign S2 on exhibit 3, page 2.
This sign is really just an maybe, more like wall art. It is non-illuminated. It is just flat cut metal to the wall. It really has not much dimension to it. And it is, really just a wall art. And since it is technically part of the logo, it's included in the square footage. It is a fair amount larger than the allowable square footage. It's also closer than 150 square feet. Yeah, that's about it.
So on this sign, just to make it clear, you're saying there's no lighting of any kind, not backlighting or any flood lighting, nothing that lights that up. At nighttime, you wouldn't see it. Is that correct?
No internal lighting, no lighting. It is just flat metal to the wall as a art piece to the wall.
And so the special exception there, ladies and gentlemen, is seeking, well, it would be 101.58 feet over the limitation of 50 square feet per side of the building. And Mr. Protesta, would you tell the board what is the size of the Chickies and Pete's restaurant of that facade? What is the length of it?
The length of that side is roughly 130 linear feet.
So you're asking really for one illuminated sign, and the other sign is roughly artwork that's unilluminated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Council, may I rely upon the writing, which is exhibit 1A for the size limitation, or should I repeat that?
No, absolutely. The board is familiar with the written piece of the application.
All right, very good. Thank you. I'm going to take up the board's time. All right, third special exception request is the sign marked S4, exhibit 3, page 3. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would, please, Mr. Protesta.
So this is the identical channel letter set as the opposite side without the backer. So there would be no exception for the backer, only the allowance of the additional 9.5 square feet for that side.
All right. And again, is the illumination. Could we discuss that? What do we have again? Same thing
as it is identical to the other side. The channel letters are red faces, red illumination. The Crab House and Sports Bar is non-illuminated.
Very good. And this one I noticed.
Mr. Redamonte?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us Mr. Protesta, what is I want to say the location or direction of this sign? What is this? What does this sign face?
This sign faces. I'm sorry. Let me look at the layout here. Liberty Boulevard.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Now I noticed there is so much of a difference between this and the one on the opposite side. Is that right, Mr. Protesta? This doesn't have the framework. Is that correct?
Yes, this does not have the framework behind it. It is simply the channel letter set.
Okay, very good. Now, with the board's permission, I'll move on to the fourth special exception request, which would be the last one, since the fifth was withdrawn. Thank you very much. That's That's sign marked S5 on Exhibit 3, page 4. That's again a fanciful image of a crab. If we could just refer to this as compared to the other side, what's the difference between this fanciful image as opposed to the one on the Liberty Boulevard side? I mean, on the other side.
This is constructed identically to the one on the other side, except it is roughly half the size of that one.
Alrighty, is it illuminated in any way?
No, it is not illuminated.
Right. And again, the writings speak for themselves. This would be seeking a 48.17 square foot modification or allowance. And
well, that sign's only 38 and a half square feet.
That would exceed, yeah, this sign itself is 38 and a half square feet. So if we add 38 and 9, because the other sign on that same side, Chickies and Pete's, exceeds by 9, so then we would add the 9 to the to this 38, and we get that 48.17.
It's also within the 150 square linear feet between signs.
But then again, if I could do math, I would have been a doctor. But so I'm hoping everything's correct. Now, if we go to Exhibit 1B, is the variance request. And Mr. Pretesto, tell us about what. Well, I'm going to speak about the variances because each one of these is identical essentially to the next. Each variance is for every sign because the ordinance seems to provide that there's no more than 10 signs allowed on the lot. And if there's only 10 signs allowed on the lot, then we don't get any signs. So we'd say that that would put this business at a hardship. So we're seeking a hardship variance to permit us to have more than 10 signs in that entire lot. And secondly, we are proposing a second sign on the two facades that we spoke of before within 150 feet of the other, which is all in the paperwork and in the testimony. So we're seeking a variance from the prohibition of having two signs on that 130 foot long of each side located on that same 130 feet.
And although you've asked for 4 variances, it's essentially exactly the same request as to each piece of signage being considered.
That's right.
The 2 Chickies and Pete signs and the 2 crabs.
That's exactly right. Two facades involve all of these issues. Only 2 facades. The other facade that faces the area in between the 2 shopping centers, so to speak, will have no signage on them. And obviously the internal side of the building will have a sign. So again, we're only speaking about 2 facades.
Ted, is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak or question in regards to this appeal? Do you see any, Ted?
Ted, I think you're muted.
There's a Gary Sheridan that I just let in. I don't know what Gary is here for. I don't have any emails at this point.
No text.
Any questions?
Mr. Sheridan, are you here to speak about Chickie and Pete's?
No, sir. I'm just following on behalf of the fire company to see what's happening.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Dave, this is Kathy. I understand Joe is in the lobby waiting to be let into the meeting. I don't know if somebody can let him in.
Oops.
Let him in. I don't know what happened to Joe. There, he's back.
Karen, do you have any thoughts, comments on this one? You're muted.
There you go.
There I go. No, I think I understand it. Thank you.
Joe, are you back?
I am back.
There he is. Okay.
There he is. Do you have any thoughts or comments here?
Well, I didn't hear any of the testimony if there was any, but the petition in the packet seems pretty straightforward to me.
Okay. Okay. Would someone like to, Jay, your thoughts?
Same. I mean, the packet's loud and clear. This is, it was pretty well spelled out.
Okay.
If I am to rest at this point, then I would ask that the board permit me to introduce all of my exhibits and accept them into evidence.
Sure.
Thank
Ted,
you.
do you have any comment at this point for the benefit of the board?
No, I think this is pretty straightforward as well. Again, that sign ordinance doesn't really recognize a shopping center within the OBPS zoning district. So it doesn't seem that there's a lot of, I guess, allowance really for shopping center for signage.
Okay. Joe, would you like to make a motion in regards to appeal number 2021-7? And I think, Andrew, you can fill in the details on this for us.
Muted.
Thank you. I did it myself. The motion.
Not a lawyer. That's funny.
That's right. I think if the board was comfortable with the application, the motion would be to approve the application in accordance with exhibits 1A, which is the special exception requests, and exhibit 1B, which are the variance requests, minus any request for lumen relief, which has been removed from the application.
I make a motion that we approve the application as stated by the solicitor.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Good luck.
And Mr. Retamonte, would you waive the time frame for receiving a written decision?
Yes, so that's right. I would happily.
Okay.
Thank you. The board has recently undertaken the practice as well that if there are no parties or objectors, that the board may issue a decision as a letter decision instead of employing findings of fact and conclusions of law, but they reserve the right to issue a full-blown decision if necessary.
Because you have a transcript. Very good. I understand that. That's good.
Thank you.
Brittany, thank you very much for handling the exhibits. It was appreciated. Mr. Locker, your hospitality has been tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
With all that, I guess we shall sign off till the next time. Have a good evening, folks.
Thanks, John.
Bye now.
Next on the agenda is appeal number 2021-8, the application of Joan Alexander. Ms. Alexander, are you here this evening?
You're muted. There you go.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I'm here.
Great.
And Ms. Alexander, before you get started, we'll have you sworn, but I'll go through the board exhibits if you don't mind.
Go ahead, please.
And so board exhibit B1 is the zoning application dated March 27, 2021. Exhibit B2 is the proof of publication for the legal advertisements. They were placed on April 12 and April 19. Exhibit B3 is the staff affidavit of posting and the photo indicating the posting of the property on April 16. Exhibit B4 is my correspondence acknowledging your application and setting forth the notice responsibilities. And exhibit B5 is Ms. Alexander's affidavit of mailing neighbor notification letters, and that's dated April 13, 2021. And I will point out that Ms. Alexander notified her neighbors twice in due diligence. Once when she submitted the application, and then a second time once we prepared the legal advertisement and indicating that there was going to be a remote hearing. So those are the board exhibits. And I believe as right before you, we have you sworn, Brittany Carasello is running the exhibits, and she's going to pull up the end of exhibit B1, which is the site plan, which is probably most useful for you and the board to get started.
Ms. Alexander, we have a recorder here that's listening to your voice. So if you can refer to your property as north, south, east, and west, it's very helpful for him to orient us to where we're at.
Okay.
And why don't we have you raise your right hand and Mr. Haggerty will swear you in.
Okay.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. Just state your name for me, please.
Joan Alexander.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, you may proceed. Tell us what you're interested in here.
All right. we would like to put 2 additions onto our home and also put a concrete pad under a shed that will be within the side variance. And the 2 additions will also be within the side variances. So that's why I'm here before the board. And I'd like to say that we moved into our home in November of 1984. We've been here 36 years. And we'd like to continue that. And in order to make that happen, we've got to make the house a little bit safer for my husband and I. We're both in our 70s now. And I am especially finding the stairs to be very difficult for me. I've got replaced knees and I have balance problems. So these additions would allow us to put a nice sized bedroom on the first floor. I will say there is currently a bedroom already, but it's very tiny. And just to make us more comfortable and to be able to use a walker if we had to, the current bedroom is much too small for that. We would never be able to maneuver in the size room that we have. So the proposed bedroom is of a good size that would allow a walker, possibly a wheelchair, to be in there. Second, and that addition would be along the same line as the side of the house, which is already within the side variance. We're currently 16 feet from the property line, and you'll see that on the north side of the northeast side of the house is the proposed addition for the bedroom. And since we've had a year to think about this because of COVID, we kind of put this all on hold. We're kind of worried about where our health would be, not knowing what was going on at the beginning of the virus. Kind of sidelined all of our ideas and just been really thinking about it, and came to the conclusion that it would really also be helpful to have a mudroom with extra kitchen storage in it. And because I'm already used to having an office in the house, I'd like to continue that. So on the northwest side of the house, you'll see another proposed addition that would be divided into 2 rooms, and it would have the mudroom and kitchen storage, and also my office. And this would help greatly in that we wouldn't be making so many trips to the basement as we've been doing. If you continue on the site plan and you look a little bit further west and north, you'll see where we have a shed right now. And that shed right now is back to back with my neighbor's shed. We've had that arrangement for, I bet, 25 years. And it's been, neither of us have been bothered by it. I'd like to continue that arrangement, but put in a larger shed. We need the storage. We now have a snowblower and pool equipment and all sorts of stuff. And we really need something larger. And I like to put a concrete pad under it because no matter what we've done, and believe me, I've shoveled tons of stone in the past, it keeps sinking and it's always not level. So we'd like to put a concrete pad under that and be able to level it off. That's basically what I'm asking for.
Ms. Alexander, who is your neighbor to the west along the line where the shed is?
Amy Benner. Amy's been in that house for her entire life.
And she's on your service list, and I think your exhibit indicates that you hand delivered those notices?
I did. I handed it right to her.
And did you talk to her about your application at all?
Yes, and Amy is fine really with anything that we want to do. We have always been had nothing but cordial relations with our neighbor, with all of them, as a matter of fact. It's one of the reasons we'd like to stay here.
Sure. Ms. Alexander, can I ask you a question about the proposed addition on the west side? Did this house at some point have a garage?
No, never had a garage.
At the end of the driveway, a carport, something? I'm just curious why there isn't one here. Yeah, okay.
No. If you look at well, I don't know how you've numbered it, but the architect has numbered it A 2.0. If we could switch to that, that will give you a picture of how the house will appear with the additions.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see it from all four sides. And I've labeled it, you know, which side it is, whose view that is. And I thought that would be helpful to be able to visualize what we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you see at the top right, top left corner, as seen from 6 Buttonwood, that would be Amy, that's from the street view. So you'll see that addition that will go, what's in our driveway right now. And there's never been a garage there. There's never been anything there but driveway.
So we understand these lots are non-conforming.
Yep, say that again, please.
The lots are non-conforming for the most part. I mean, this is not new for this area of the township. Yeah. No, and I said that in my application. If you were to walk around this neighborhood, and I do it 3 times a day with my dog, I found that well over 50% of the houses on Beechwood and Buttonwood Avenue have additions. Most of them are garages or carports. There are some, you know, room additions also. And because the neighborhood was built in the early 50s, I think just about every house is already in the side variance. So any addition that people have put on for the most part has been within the variance to begin with. So I don't think I'm asking for anything out of the ordinary. I think what I'm asking for would fit right in with the character of the neighborhood. And we tried to make the office mudroom addition, the roof line will be the same as the current roof line. So it should, you know, blend in nicely. And the addition in the back really will not be seen at all from the street. You have a great deal of space towards the pool. I was wondering, would it be more convenient to have the shed that was supposed to be on the western side there, closer to the pool, and also would allow you to move it 10 feet from the property line, which is the ordinance distance for auxiliary sheds?
There is a shed there now. It's a small one. It's only 7 by 7 by 6 or so. I thought about that, and it's not that convenient, truly, because first of all, if we moved it over, we'd have to move some of the pool equipment is there, the filter is there, and a few other items. And
the shed on the west side has the filter and all that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you then. Could you ask me the question again?
The shed and the cement area that you want to put on the western side?
Yes.
Yeah, I just, could it be moved 10 feet from the property line and closer to the pool or something?
Not really, because we start having a big hill there. And that's part of the problem. But as soon as you get to the back of the pool, we have a very steep hill. And we can't obviously put a shed on the hill. And if we were to put it at the top of the hill, we would never get to it. I can barely make it up that hill. I have to take a walking stick with me just to make it up there. So if we were to move it over, as you're saying, closer to the pool, first of all, we have a beautiful weeping cherry tree in the way that would have to go. That would make me really unhappy. And it starts to infringe on the amount of sunlight that we get on the deck. So it wouldn't be, I mean, we put a lot of thought into where these additions are going with respect to how we enjoy our yard and where we sit and our view from our deck. And to move that shed over closer to it would be coming closer to the deck to make it closer to the pool. And that it would just negate a lot of our pleasure of sitting out back.
Joe, Karen, any thoughts?
Hope you can hear me okay. My video is off because of bandwidth. The shed to the west, Looks like it currently sits slightly off of the property line. Can't really tell how much off the property line it is.
Only a few
but the
feet.
proposed, what is it?
It's just like 2 feet.
Okay. Any reason why 2 feet? Any reason why the proposed addition to the shed can't sit the same distance off the property line?
Well, we would follow the same distance along that property line, as long as that's the way the concrete can be poured, and I'm assuming it can be. But the fact is that I don't think that shed was never permitted, and I'd like to have that, as a legally placed shed for going forward. So that's why.
My question is, the plan, right? But the plan seems to indicate that the new shed, the addition, would be right on the property line, not off of the property line by 2 feet. Is that? Yeah. Am I not reading that right?
Yeah. What happened is I finally gave up with the person who was doing this program for me. So yes, I have no problem with making it the same placement as the current shed in respect to the property line.
And I'm assuming, Ms. Alexander, that the shed on the western side, the one we're talking about, has been there for a while. It's a non-conforming shed.
It has been. It's been there for at least 20 years.
Okay. So this is we're kind of expanding a non-conforming shed at the same distance from the property line.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And that's the shed that's back to back with Amy Benner.
Yeah, pretty much back to back. Yeah, right. In the same area. I saw that from an aerial view. Yeah. Karen, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Ted, any thoughts from you? The muting and unmuting kills us.
There we go. Yeah, unfortunately. No, I think it seems like it's well planned. The neighborhood, as Mrs. Alexander states, is very, I guess, small lots, and people have put on additions. I drove through again today to look at them. It seems like a nice little neighborhood for the most part. So
it is. We enjoy being here, and we'd really like to stay, but we've just got to make it safer. I'll just say this. Another reason why we really like to stay is my daughter just moved down the street to General Warren Village, and knowing I have somebody close by to help out is a big relief and a big reason not to move farther away.
Locker, Ted, is there anyone that's joined us or sent an email in regards to this appeal?
No, I don't see anybody in the waiting room or no emails at this point.
Karen, would you like to make a motion in regards to Appeal 2021-8?
Sure. With regard to Appeal number 2021-8, the application of Joan Alexander for a variance pursuant to Section 200-20, Attachment 2, and Section 200-22 of the Township Zoning Ordinance to permit the construction of 2 additions to the residence on the property and the expansion of 1 shed located on the property owned by Joan W. and Thomas R. Alexander at 5 Buttonwood Avenue, located within the R2 zoning district. I move that the application be approved. And just checking with the solicitor, the plans make it clear, I think, that the shed is not on the property line.
Right. That's right. I think what you could do is you could add to that in accordance with the site plan presented, except that the proposed shed and pad on the western side of the property shall remain 2 feet off the property line in accordance with the location of the current shed.
Yeah, that's great, because we have to be able to walk around it anyway.
We're in the middle of a motion. Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none. Good luck, Miss Alexander.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right. Ted, what does our business and calendar look like for next month?
Actually, at this point, I don't have any new applications, although I've seen some correspondence back and forth, and I kind of gave them the end of the month as my deadline to get them in. So I'll prize everyone if we do see something, but right now you may have a month off.
Okay. No churches want a new sign or anything?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. That brings the meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Brittany.